Alright, so this is Mania over on West Jordan in Utah. You'll have to bear with me. I'm going to kind of skim through these games over here, kind of the classic games, just give you a general view of them, because I'm going to focus a little bit more on the pinballs this time. If you've seen any of the other videos in my channel, you may know that I did a video of this place a while ago, but I was kind of just filming that for a friend, and I wasn't really talking too much about the place and the games and stuff like that, so I kind of wanted to change that. They've also changed a few things, swapped a few games out since the last video, so I wanted to get an updated video while I'm here. If you're unfamiliar with Mania, they're kind of a small little family-owned business that has 3 locations around here. And they all kind of follow a similar theme. They have a front end with a bunch of redemption arcade machines, you know, ticket games, basketball games, that kind of stuff. And then the back half, or another half of the arcade, is dedicated specifically to pinball and a bunch of classics. You can kind of tell that the front side of the arcade pays for the back side of the arcade, if you know what I mean. One thing that I really like about this location, or this place in general, is they do a really good job of keeping their games working and well-maintained and clean. With the pinballs, you know, you're always going to run into, you know, a few problems here and there, because as you'll see as we turn the corner here, they just have so many of them. But I think they do a decent job, all things considered. So here's the first row of pinballs. There's multiple rows here, and I'm going to kind of go over each game one by one here. So starting things off, we've got a Black Knight 2000. Black Knight 2000, I love this game. It's a little shallow, but you know, for the era, it kind of makes sense. One thing you'll notice about this machine is there's a lot of insert wear. Gonna kind of happen with this machine, especially machines from this era, especially if they're still on location nowadays, and you can kind of see everything here. But the one thing about this location, even if the game might not be cosmetically appealing, they're almost always going to play pretty well. I noticed that some games might be leaning a little to the left or a little to the right, but it's nothing you can't play against or with, which I still think is, you know, okay. A lot of the games are always clean. They do a really good job of keeping these games clean. It's pretty difficult to keep pinball machines clean, especially in an environment like this, but I still think they do a pretty good job. This is a Stern Indiana Jones. I'm not a big fan of this game personally, but it seems to be favorited by a couple of people. I think this game also got, you know, kind of see here, some scoop wear, captive ball wear. That's usually pretty common here, but if you were to play it, it plays pretty nice. Up next, we got a Star Trek by Data East. I've never really played this game, so I'm not super familiar with the rules, but the game itself, it seems to be in pretty decent shape. You can see there's some kick-out wear, but again, you know, you got to kind of expect that from a game from this era. It's just going to happen. These games didn't really have clear coat, so the play fields are just kind of bare wood on metal ball. Up next, we got a Monopoly. I really like Monopoly. I think it's a great Pat Lawler game. You don't see too many of them on location anymore just because a lot of them are in private collections. Same with a lot of the games you're going to see here, which is another thing that I really appreciate about this location, or these locations in general, is they'll put a lot of games up that you don't really see too often. Like, they got games here from all sorts of different eras. So, like, for example, here you got an Earthshaker. Now, this Earthshaker has definitely seen better days, but I played it, and all of the flippers shoot strong and everything works. If the game gets to a point, they will do a playfield swap. You'll see later here, there is actually a machine here with a playfield swap, but you can just kind of see down at the bottom, this is something that I didn't really show very up close in the last video. You can just see that pretty much the inserts are gone. But again, if you were to play this, it would play pretty smooth. I think also on the side here, the cabinet, yeah, seen better days. Up next, we got a Bally Mousing Around. I always found these cabinet style heads are very strange. I never really understood why they did them, especially considering Williams was pretty much running Bally at this point. I think it was probably to just kind of distinguish the different games from the public. Like, oh, this is a Bally game, this is a Williams game. Eventually, they kind of just gave up on that and they didn't really care. Up next, we got Whitewater. I absolutely love Whitewater. I think it's probably one of the greatest pinball machines of all time. It's not super deep, but it has a lot of stuff to shoot for, and all the shots just feel amazing. Amazing music by Chris Granner as well. I really wish he would go back to pinball and do some more stuff. He just made great games and great music. I know he didn't really work on the games, but he was slightly involved. Last time I was here, the switch that kind of sits in the back loop here wasn't detecting, and the ball would sometimes get stuck in the whirlpool shot, and you wouldn't be able to continue with your modes, but they fixed that since I have been here last. Who done it? So this is a game, again, you don't see too often on location. Unfortunately, though, this one does have a few problems that need to be ironed out. The reels do not work, and the kind of little, it's kind of sitting in the back there, but the little post that kind of goes up and down to let you shoot the palace shot doesn't really know where it's at, so it'll get confused sometimes when you're playing, and it'll just go up and down, which is a bit of a problem if you know anything about the rules for this game. Up next, we got a Roller Coaster Tycoon, another great Pat Lawler game from the Stern era. I really like this game. Again, music by Chris Granner, great shots, a lot of fun. Pretty easy game, but I think that's kind of what they were going for during this era. They wanted to have people actually play the games instead of getting, burned almost instantly, because these things weren't really moneymakers at the time. Stern was kind of struggling to stay afloat. Up next, we got a Swords of Fury. I know a lot of people like this game. I've never been the biggest fan of Swords of Fury, but, to each their own. I still think the layout is really cool. The artwork is amazing. Again, the game package is very nice. I'm just not personally a very big fan. Up next, we got a Tales from the Crypt. This is another interesting game. I haven't put too much time into this game. I know there's one at Galloping Ghost Pinball, but it doesn't play very well. I'll have to give this one a shot and really see if it plays decent. I think this is a game that people seem to like. I've just never been a big fan, but I still got to put some more time into it. Up next, we got a Blackwater 100 by Bally. I know this is one of the last games that Bally made before they had to kind of sell off their division and kind of move to different places, but I've never really been a big fan of this game. It's pretty much a gimmick. The game itself is just a gimmick. It's really cool. I'm sure when this game came out, it would have been really eye-catching at the time, but in the modern era, not so great. I've also heard it's a nightmare to work on if you ever have to work on this game. Up next, we got a Roadshow. Roadshow is a very interesting game. It's a fun game. I really like it, but it's definitely one of Pat Lawler's weaker titles. I still think the game itself is really fun. The shots flow really well, and the game design is really cool. Lots of cool shots, lots of cool modes, funny call-outs, and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I've always felt like there's just something missing. I always wonder why I gravitate more towards Funhouse or other games from this era rather than Roadshow. I guess there's a reason why they're so cheap. Up next, we've got a Getaway High Speed 2, another great game from the Bally Williams era. This one shoots pretty well. All the flippers are nice and strong. Everything pretty much works. There really don't seem to be too many issues with this. Again, very simple game, but very fun. Up next, we got a Bad Cats. I have never actually played one that works. I've seen quite a few on location, but I've never played one that works really well. This one seems to be pretty clean, although again, it's a System 11 game. These things are just starting to show their age at this point. Unless they've had a playfield swap or they've had Mylar on it that's been, well kept. I mean, even then the Mylar is going to start to yellow at this point. It's just something you got to expect, Unless the playfield's been swapped over, it's just going to look like that. Up next, we got a Space Station. I know this is another popular one. I've never been the biggest fan, personally, again, but still a really great game for the era. Lots of cool stuff here. This would have blown minds back in the day with all the stuff and the cool ramps, all that good stuff. I do believe this game has some awesome music. Again, I haven't really played too much because I'm not the biggest fan, but still a really cool game. Up next, we got a Ripley's Believe It or Not. I love this game. Again, another great game from the Stern, Pat Lawler era. The shots, the music, the call-outs, the modes, the game itself is just amazing. The last time I was playing, the flippers were a little weak, or the last time I was here, I should say, the flippers were a little weak, but they've definitely rebuilt them since I've been here last. If you've ever played one of these on location, you'll know this flipper is pretty important, and often it's pretty weak. You can't make any of the two shots around the side, but everything is nice and strong here. Again, you can just see how clean these games are. And there's going to be some ball trails here, but that's pretty standard, even at, you know, arcades where they clean them pretty much every single day. You can see the wear here in the kick out. It's unfortunate he doesn't have a Cliffy here. I think this game really needs it. Up next, we got a Baby Pac-Man. I don't really like this game. I don't think many people do. It's kind of a gimmick, but still kind of cool to see one on location. I know this game is pretty rare. And I will document this again, the good old 6-player X-Men. I've seen quite a few of these in my travels. All right, up next we got a Simpsons Pinball Party, a fan favorite. People really like this game. I've always felt that the shots are kind of awkward. The guy who designed this game, he's made a few games. I think he also did The Wizard of Oz. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he has a knack for making playfields that look beautiful, are packed with tons of stuff, cool things to do, but the shots just don't feel very good. He has an issue with flow, I've kind of noticed. But with that being said, I still love this game. When the flippers are really strong and the game is clean, it's a blast to play. I think it's one of his best games. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. A common issue with this game is the, it's kind of, you know, there's some reflecting, but the garage won't open, but the garage opens just fine. The flippers all work really well. Everything works and plays as it should. Over here we got an AC/DC Pro original run, I believe, and I love AC/DC as a pinball machine. The game is just fantastic. The shots, the code, everything. Maybe not so much the artwork, but I still think it's a fantastic game. Unfortunately, this isn't the premium. I kind of think this is one of those games where you either need to play the premium or you don't play it at all. If you only have access to a pro, though, you can still have a great time, but there's just so much on the premium. I honestly think this is one of the most egregious examples of a pro versus premium that Stern has ever done. It's kind of insane. You're basically getting a completely different game versus the pro over the premium. Up next, we have a, what is this, Data East Jurassic Park, I believe. I've never been a big fan of this game, but people really like it. The music's cool, but kind of a boring game in my opinion. I probably just offended a bunch of people. I know it's a bit of a fan favorite, Data East game. Up next, we got a Williams Fishtails, another great game from Williams. I really like this one. They do not have lightning flippers on this one, so it's a bit easier to keep the ball alive. This is the one game where I do think you should have the lightning flippers because this game was designed with them in mind. The other games, I don't really think you should have them, but to each their own. Up next, we have a Flintstones, and see, this is like another one that you don't really see on location too often. Most of them are in private homes, or they were destroyed just because they didn't really make a whole lot of money back then. This game plays really well. Unfortunately, though, there is a little bit of a problem. If you'll notice, this game has a ton of sculpts on it. There's just tons of stuff all over the playfield. And one of these is actually causing problems. The little dinosaur is not aligned correctly. So anytime the ball gets kicked up here, it gets stuck. You kind of have to shake it loose. But it will eventually come loose. Just a bit of a hindrance. But other than that, the game plays really nice. Up next, we have a Data East Batman. And this Batman has definitely seen better days, I'll tell you that. I don't know if they make reproduction playfields for this game, but you can see they need one pretty bad here. But I did play a game of this the other day, and it plays really well. So if you know the game and you know the inserts, it should still be a good time. Up next, we have a Champion Pub. And this is a really cool game and a unique game from Bally Williams that, again, you really don't see too often. They didn't make many of these, and the ones that are still surviving are typically in a private collection at this point. Unfortunately, this one has a little bit of the ramp bending going on. I don't really know what causes this. I've always kind of assumed it's from people cleaning the game a little too aggressively, putting too much pressure down on these plates, and over time they kind of bow up. Because I don't think it's caused by the ball, but I could be wrong. Up next we got a Cyclone that I believe has been abused over the years, or was in a location that just had so much sun on it. You can see there's just no more artwork here. But correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure the artwork here is supposed to be a little bit more vibrant. It's kind of washed out. I'm not sure though. You can also see the cabinet is just falling apart. This must have been kept in a very humid environment during its life. Up next we got a Party Zone. A couple of these games do have credit dots, so I'm just curious to see what switch isn't being activated. I love Party Zone. This is a really fun game. Very simple game, but shots are all great. When you get multi-ball going and you can get the Big Bang, it just feels so satisfying. Up next we got a Lord of the Rings. Another fan favorite. People really love this game. And this one shoots very well. There don't seem to be any problems that I can find. I'm not super familiar with the rules on this game because I know there's just so many rules. But it shoots great. The flippers are strong. Everything that I was interacting with seems to work. And overall, it was a very enjoyable experience. I never really got a chance to play this game too much, and I never understood why so many people thought it was just the game to play. And I kind of see it now. The shots are great. Again, George Gomez, he just makes great games. Up next, we got a Bally Space Invaders. People really like this game. I've noticed that this game draws quite a crowd in certain locations. I don't get it personally, but again, to each their own. You can see the playfield's kind of beaten up here. Again, at this point, these old Bally games, this is just going to happen. It's just how it goes, unless you do a playfield swap or you clear coat. A really nice example. Up next, we got a Funhouse. Can't have an arcade that has pinball in it without Funhouse. This Funhouse in particular has definitely had a playfield swap. I never saw this game before the playfield swap was done, but if you look, you can kind of look at these in lanes here, especially this one. This one tends to get kind of beat up. You can just see the in lanes are beautiful. If this is an original playfield, it was kept in amazing condition, or it was never used. I'm not really sure, but it more than likely has had a playfield swap. Up next, we got a Creature from the Black Lagoon. Again, another great game. You can just kind of see this lineup is pretty stacked. Pretty much any golden era game you'd want to play from Bally Williams is here. A lot of pinball arcades nowadays have been transitioning over to the Stern machines just because they are a bit easier to get parts for, and they, quote-unquote, last a bit longer. But I have another video on my channel if you would like to view some of my opinions on that. Up next, we've got a Hook by Data East. This game's got a really cool layout, but unfortunately the rules are pretty one-dimensional. You just basically hit this ramp over and over and over again. I hadn't played it the last time I saw this game, and before I thought it was neat, but it's a little bit of a shallow game. Up next, we got a Theater of Magic. I actually just finished playing a game on this one, and everything shoots really, really well. The game is leaning very heavy to the right, but I think it actually makes the game a bit easier. When you're shooting this loop shot, it'll come to your flipper nice and easy, and is when it shoots out of the trunk here, or not the trunk, the trap door, you can catch the ball almost 100% of the time on this flipper, which makes keeping the ball alive a lot easier. And you can see there's my score there. Up next, I got a Twilight Zone. You gotta have a Twilight Zone if you're gonna have a pinball arcade. Another one of those classics from the 90s. I actually own a Twilight Zone because I love this game so much. I just think it's one of Pat Lawler's best games. I don't think he's made another game to this level ever since. You can kind of get an idea how many plays this game has by looking at the shooter lane here. You can also see there's a little bit of wear over by the slot machine kickout. It's actually eaten through the Mylar. Somebody put another set of Mylar on there, which is kind of insane. Makes you wonder how many balls have had to hit that in order to eat through the Mylar and the clear coat. Up next, we got a Firepower. I'm not super familiar with these older games personally, because they never really interested me. I didn't grow up with them, and they're, you know, pretty basic by today's standards. I'm more interested in games like this, where there's a lot of rules, a lot of stuff to do, really fun shots, good call-outs. This is a Metallica Pro original run, and you can kind of see the magnet is bowing up a little bit, but it's not too bad. This particular unit plays decent. It's nice and easy to get the ball around the ramps and all that good stuff. Everything seems to work. It's unfortunate it's not a premium, but what can you do? This is kind of funny. Or if I can shake that loose. There you go. Up next, we got a Spider-Man by Stern. This is another great game. Kind of easy, though, if you've ever played this one. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just lucky, but I feel like this game is pretty easy. I've pretty much made it almost to the wizard mode every time I've played it, but I'm sure there's a lot of rules that I don't know or I am missing. All right, and then we're going to swing around here, but I want to avoid the DDR. You can kind of get a nice little view of the pinballs here. But I wanted to avoid the DDR because I believe they are playing a copyrighted song. All right, up next we've got a Scared Stiff. This one is in great shape. There's some playfield wear here and there, but game plays really, really well. Flippers are nice and strong. And that's really what you're looking for with these older games is, are the flippers strong? Have they been rebuilt within the last, year or so? Got a Harley Davidson by Sega. So this is actually the Sega model of this particular pinball machine. If you know anything about this game, this was the last, I believe, the last game that Sega put out before they went out of business and sold all of their IPs and all their stuff to Stern. And then Stern would later release their own version of Harley Davidson, I believe called Second Edition. And then there was a third edition after that that had like chrome on it. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how that went. Up next we got a Big Guns. This game's always funny to me just because the head is so tall compared to everything else. I'm not really sure what the point of that was, but still a really neat game. Up next we got a NASCAR by Stern. This was a Pat Lawler game from that kind of weird in-between era for Stern. I don't really like this game, but it's definitely different. It's got this cool little loop-around shot, and the drain is nice and open. Up next, we have a No Fear Dangerous Sports. This is one of those games that kind of gets ignored. I think it's really fun. It's a cool Steve Ritchie game. I think this was Steve Ritchie's last game for Williams before he left. But, it's definitely missing something. I'm not sure what, but it's missing something. Over here we got a Strikes and Spares by Gottlieb. I don't really know the history of this game, but I think it was one of Gottlieb's last games before they closed their doors. You can see this one's got some wear here. I've never actually played this, but some people tell me that it's fun. I might have to give it a play before I leave. Over here we got a Williams Slugfest. This is another one that you just don't see on location. You don't see Strikes and Spares either. I've never played this one, so I'm not really familiar with it, but still pretty cool if you've been looking to play one of these. I got one here. Up next we have a Diner. This is also a really fun System 11 game that I like. It's got just the right amount of rules, just the right amount of music, call-outs, shot flow, all that good stuff to make a really great game that I would love to have in the collection at some point. Everything works. I'd say this flipper is a little weak. Probably use a rebuild at this point, but every shot is makeable and you can still combo everything like you're supposed to. Up next we got a Bram Stoker's Dracula. This one has had some problems every now and then since I've been here, and everything seems to be working right now. Unfortunately though, the game is so shallow, and what I mean by shallow is it's leveled super shallow. You can see where the bubble is. I don't know, it's kind of hard to pick up, but the game plays so floaty. Every shot is almost impossible to make. It's just really weird. I didn't really have a great time, unfortunately, but it just needs to be leveled a little bit and it would play amazing. Up next, there is a Bally Addams Family. So again, Addams Family, gotta have one at every location. This one plays really well. Flippers are strong, every shot works. This side flipper is super strong, can make it around. Thing flips flipper, nice and strong. And those are the things you kind of want to look for when you're playing an Addams Family. Otherwise, you can't really play the game or get good scores. But this one plays nice, always clean. I know they clean this one a lot because it gets played quite a bit. And this game just still makes money. If you have one, you can put one on location and still make money. It's kind of crazy. Up next, we have a Walking Dead by Stern. Again, another game you don't see on location too often. Very unique. I've heard that Stern is maybe doing a remaster for this game, which, if true, is kind of strange. I don't know why. I don't think anybody was asking for another Walking Dead, especially with the IP. I can't remember the last time someone mentioned this IP within the last, 5 years, honestly. So, interesting, but we'll see. Up next, we have a South Park by Sega. And again, if you know anything about Sega, this was, again, one of their last machines that they did before they ended up closing their doors and selling everything to Stern. I believe, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this game is designed by the same guy who did Pinball Party and Wizard of Oz. And again, you can kind of see the similar, weird shot flow. There's just no real ramps on this game. Yeah, you've got a ramp here, but it kind of goes into this weird little mess that often gets messed up. You've got this up kicker that just, again, doesn't flow very well. It doesn't feel good. The shots just kind of end, but I know some people really like this game. Up next, we have a Whirlwind. This one plays decent. I haven't put too much time into it because I haven't been the biggest fan of Whirlwind. I just don't know why. And I've never been drawn to this game too much compared to everything else, but still a really good one. Up next, we have a Shrek. So Shrek is kind of an interesting game. If you know anything about this game, it's actually based off of Family Guy. Family Guy was the original game, and they took Family Guy and kind of rethemed it to Shrek. I'm assuming to be a little bit more family-friendly for maybe, a Chuck E. Cheese kind of arcade, whatnot. But they didn't make too many of them. I think they only made 500 or 400 of them. There's really not that many of them out there. But I've actually really come to like this version of Family Guy. The callouts are a lot better than I thought they were, because I never really played more than one ball on this game because it would just play All-Star every time, which was a bit unfortunate. But if you get past that initial ball, the game is actually very funny, and they did a really good job with this retheme. I actually think it's really cool. If you ever find a Shrek in public, you should definitely play it. It's very fun. Up next, we have a Terminator 2. I gotta do a lot to my Terminator 2. I've been trying to look at other locations that have Terminator 2s to try to figure out what to replace and what's wrong, all that kind of stuff. There's a couple of people playing these games over here, so I'm gonna kind of skim past these. Got a TNMT, a Black Knight, Judge Dredd not working, one of the flippers was bad. Got a Tron over here. I know this game is pretty rare. People were asking some pretty crazy prices for this game. They've come down a little bit, which is good to see, because there's really not a lot here on this playfield, but it's still pretty cool to see one on location, at least, All right, and then we've got one more row of pinballs here. These are all modern games. Over here we have a Star Wars Pro Edition. This is, I believe, one of the newest runs, just because the playfield was so clean and nice, and the shots are a little wonky. But this one plays really well. The horseshoe shot doesn't really kill you like it does on a lot of these units. Unfortunately, though, they still have not fixed this Tatooine kickout. If you've ever played one of these on location, you'll know that it's kind of a mixed bag. Sometimes it'll go right to this flipper like it's supposed to, or it'll go to this flipper. Other times, though, it'll just go right down the middle. And this one kind of does that. Sometimes it'll just go right down the middle. You kind of have to give it a bump, otherwise you'll end up just draining. Up next, we have a Foo Fighters Pro. I have a lot to say about Foo Fighters in general, because this was Jack Danger's first real game. You know, he did the home edition, Jurassic Park, before this, but this was his first real game, and I have so many mixed feelings about this game. Like, I kind of want to do a review on it at some point, just because of how mixed I am on this particular game, because I've put a lot of hours into this game, and there's just some things that I love, and there's a lot that I don't. And I think, unfortunately, unfortunately, I think a lot of it could be fixed with code. But again, I'll save that for another video. Up next, we have a Black Knight Sword of Rage Pro with the topper. I know people really prefer not Pro, sorry, this is the Premium. I know people typically prefer the Pro over the Premium on this one, because the upper playfield, there's not really a lot going on. But you know, hey, whatever you like, it's all good. But they have a Premium here if you want to play the Premium. All of the Stern games are online, so if you would like to use your Insider Connected account, you can do so here. I'm not really going to talk too much about this Godzilla, because you've heard me talk about Godzilla so many times, but if you haven't seen a Godzilla or any Godzilla machines on location, they have one here. Great game if you haven't played it. There's lots of rules, lots of fun stuff for the competitive and casual player alike. This is the Premium version as well. Up next, we have a Batman 66. This is a really fun one, another great game by George Gomez. I really wish they would do another run of this, because I would buy one if they did one more. Because this one came out kind of before they did Insider Connected, so some of them have been converted, or they've come with them by default. Again, the shots are just really fun, great code, so much fun to play this game. Something I haven't mentioned, by the way, is this is a very cheap arcade. Same goes for all the locations, but you can see down here, they charge about 9 quote-unquote nickels to play a modern Stern, and I believe the Bally-William games are 4 or 5 nickels. Putting about $5 in will get you 100 nickels, so if I'm remembering correctly, I might need to correct that later. So you can sit here and play for a long time, which is something that I appreciate. One of the things about pinball arcades that kind of stinks is, you know, you go there, you got to pay like $1 or $2 to play a game, and your game might only last like a second, and you kind of feel cheated out of it. So here you can play a lot. I might talk about that a little bit later. Over here we have a Guardians of the Galaxy Pro with the modded hands. I think this is a mod. I don't believe this is the original. And I know this game is kind of rare. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of these that were made. So if you want to play one, you can play one here. Again, another one you don't see on location too often. Up next, we have a Stranger Things Premium. And I don't know what run this was, if this was like one of the original runs, because if you know anything about Stranger Things, the original runs had a lot of issues with the telekinesis multi-ball lock. I'm not sure how to tell the difference. But I don't like this game, so I haven't really put too much time into it. I think this game is just too brutal for its own good. I don't really know why. Pretty much any game that has like a shooter lane like this, where it just kind of dumps the ball out and it's going to immediately be in danger, I don't really like. I very much prefer games that kind of allow you to either catch the ball or give you at least first contact. That way, if you drain, it's your fault. And up next, we have a Dungeons & Dragons Pro. So I put a lot of games on this today. I haven't managed to get anything major, but I'm not too sure how I feel about this game as of yet. One of the things that kind of stuck out to me that I thought was a bit annoying is there's not really a lot of shots you can make from this flipper that feel satisfying. Because there are shots, right? You know, you can make center shot, you can make this orbit, or you can make the market shot, whatever you call it. I'm still kind of learning everything. But the left flipper just has so many other shots to go for. You've got this loop, you've got this upper, the same upper post, you've got this ramp, you've got this extra loop, and then you can shoot in here underneath the flipper. And you can even go for the dragon. You know, you'd prefer to go to for the dragon on this flipper because you're less likely to drain, at least I think. So, I don't know, the flow is kind of interesting. I'm still kind of making up my mind on this one. Up next, we've got an Infinity Quest Pro. I don't have a lot to say about this game. I think this is one of Keith Elwin's weakest games, in my opinion. Still shoots great, but you really need the premium on this one because it literally is missing an entire ramp. A bit unfortunate. Up next, we have a Jaws Premium, and or not Jaws Premium, sorry, this is a Jaws Pro. Jaws has come a long way since it first came out. If you haven't managed to play one recently, you should definitely play a Jaws. The code has gotten so much better, it's kind of insane. All right, and then I'm gonna kind of skim over these last couple games. We've got an Oktoberfest, a Willy Wonka, and a Dialed In. These all play really well. Everything works as they should. Dialed In is an underrated game. It's kind of unfortunate that there aren't too many on location anymore. All right, well, that is it. That is Nickel Mania. I'd really only wanted to go over the pinballs. If you're interested in some of the other games, feel free to show up. They've got tons of stuff here, and they all are in really, really good condition. Kind of give one last little walkthrough over here. You can kind of see over here, this is what I was talking about with the redemption. It's a bit hard to see, but on that back half is just a bunch of redemption. So